I'm Himraj Kafle. I'm an associate professor of English and Communication in Kathmandu University and head of the Department of Management Informatics and Communication, a newly established department under the School of Management. I also work as a communication coordinator under the Coordination and Communication Division of the Office of Vice Chancellor. I joined teaching both formally and informally. Informally, I have been in different types of classes like tutorials I gave and sometimes even volunteering services during my school days. And formally, I joined teaching in 1994 in a nursery school, and from that point I count 25 years of teaching, and the last month in a way I marked the celebration of Silver Jubilee in teaching. Basically in KU I teach courses related with English and communication. Maybe I was born to be a teacher. It came with my birth, the inspiration. But I felt that teaching is the job that interested me because that's where I could meet young people. What I like about teaching is you never grow old in terms of upgrading yourself with knowledge and in terms of meeting new people. It's like you stand as a bank of the river, shore of the sea, and then the waves come and go. But the waves come and go, the students come and go, and you make friends with them, they make friends with you. And that's the best part of teaching. As I said earlier, meeting new people, and new people in the form of students, in the form of guardians and parents, and in the form of college. That's the best part of it. Two things I very often emphasize in the class nowadays. The first is knowledge should be linked to life. So linked to life. I very often told my students, whatever you do, that should go to your life. So yeah, particularly linked to life, and I want my students to think as prospective leaders in their fields. So think as a leader linked to life. That's my philosophy. The challenge is, as a teacher, my challenge is obviously the challenge is not being sure whether the students have really learned, because maybe because of culture, students very rarely ask questions. We get to know that students have understood or have not understood only in the final examination. So the challenge for a system like ours is that we don't get to know very often from the students themselves whether they have really gotten what we are giving, So the lack of interaction in a productive level, that's what I feel as a challenge. I'm very happy that I have a group of very energetic, talented, aspiring young people, most of them younger than me. And that's also kind of opportunity for me, in a sense that I can prove myself helpful, useful for others. And that's my role as a head already. You have to manage a lot of aspirations and sometimes a lot of biases outside the department and inside the department. And that I take as natural for an organization like this. I would call a donkey years of work, in my case, 18 and half years of working as a teacher, in teaching in service, in volunteering service, full of aspirations, confusions, frustrations, and the realization of responsibility for others, But okay, being an associate professor means being a leader, a prospective leader, a mentor, a supervisor, a teacher, a friend, and an administrator. Because I say that most of the people in the level of associate professor are now or later supposed to take any position, a leadership position. So I see a growth from being a mentee to a mentor, yeah, a nobody to somebody, and obviously the realization that there is one step ahead to make within a very short period of time, and be expected to make initiatives that really benefits a larger number of people. It's not simply being confined to the classroom and a few colleagues. It's a broader prospect as an associate professor. How I prepare? It depends. If I have taken a new course, I have to read a lot to find related literature and related practices, examples, cases from elsewhere, right? If it is a course that I have been teaching for the last 2-3 years, I usually try to reflect upon new dimensions of the course and then go to the class, taking my old handouts with new perspective. Sometimes, and that's the preparation. So because my field requires a lot of thinking, communication, literature, leadership, they require a lot of thinking and reflection and discussion with colleagues, and also reading the reflections written by students about my previous classes. And if you ask me some approaches I have developed myself, I've done quite a few which are fundamentally my own, I call. Because I developed my own taxonomies for communication teaching, English teaching. For example, post-class reflection, that's my own invention, I say. Okay, technology, it depends. But I see the possibility of introducing different modes of technology, not necessarily the rigid hardware type of technology, because my courses also include the knowledge and literacy in Web 2.0 skills. That is, I teach the course of business communication, so that includes the introduction of soft skills in the use of technology. So I believe in being aware of the platforms that are useful in everyday learning and teaching. So I make use of the Moodle platform, blogging, and obviously we interact a lot with students, even on Facebook. Yeah, and I try to, in a way, upgrade myself to the level, if not exactly to the level the students are, but I try to keep myself up to date, and also try to introduce certain let's say conceptions, theories, and even skills in the classroom within my frame that I call digital literacy. I'm not very ambitious with students, but one thing that is a prerequisite for a teacher and for a student, that I wish they asked a lot of questions. I wish they exploited our potential. I wish they came to us and troubled us with, the desire to learn more and work with us. Because I find that most of our time goes or passes in trying to right the wrongs, not exactly counting the rights that people do. So my expectation is, okay, trouble us with rights, trouble us with good things, trouble us with a lot of questions that you can rightfully ask and should ask to learn more. Because the people around you are maybe 20 years older than you, and they have seen the world much more than you have seen. Yeah, they know, and they are there to help. At least in case of Kathmandu University, I can say the teachers are there, completely dedicated to teaching and, in a way, helping the students. So I expect them to come and travel us productively, asking questions, harassing us, exploiting our potentials. I feel the humanities, the efficient method is communication skills. In the humanities, the teacher must be a good communicator, a good speaker, and a good reader of students' minds. Yeah, and I'm very, I think, selective and also judicial in a sense of, finding out the right material for the syllabuses. A good thing for us is we design our own syllabuses. So my challenge is to find the best book, best material. Yeah. So the efficient method for my field is very clear intellectual mind to find the right source, right resource for the students, and from the point of view of what they need today. That's one thing, but how that material might be applicable to their lives, even after 4 years or let's say 14 years when they are in profession. Something they can recall back and then think, okay, this is something we had read and is now worth reflection, even after years of doing that. My ideal classroom setting, it's very tricky. Okay, I have the experience of teaching more than 120 students in a dark, dusty room in one of the colleges of Trivandrum University. That was ideal for a course I was teaching. It was literature. So, to discuss poetry with intensity, thinking about its different features and the themes, and trying to getting lost in the ambience of that poetry. Any classroom, any setting would be fine in those days, But for teaching communication skills, we need a certain kind of setting, like Let It Break Eye, kind of theatrical arrangement, or seminar type room with some multimedia facility. To some extent, I think we have not been able to develop that kind of setting, but to a large extent, depending on the course that I teach, the present traditional classical setting of the traditional arrangement of desks and benches, that's fine. But we need to develop new settings for teaching communication and other seminar-oriented courses. Collaborating with teachers. That's crucial now, because university is a community, a department is a community. We not only share, certain experiences, we not only share visions about upgrading our own institution, but also have a diversity of knowledge, the experiences. I personally invite my friends to come to my class and also take part in discussion. We have recently started peer teaching, a team teaching, in which two teachers go and teach the same thing, and one confronts with the other, in a way participates in a discussion with the students. Apart from that, the collaboration would be in working together for a single research topic. And mostly I'm always dreaming of something like one day I'll be able to take a book written by my friend to the class and teach it there and promote that. Yeah, and we develop syllabus with our own creations. That's somehow a far cry so far. So I hope that will happen one day. That would be a collaboration not only with the colleagues of my department, but let that be the colleagues of other departments as well. Collaborating with young minds, young ambitions, young ignorance, and trying to be useful, and sometimes even learning with new sensibilities, because they see the world differently than we do nowadays. They have certain kinds of competencies that we have not been able to develop because we are never given chance to develop, or we never got chance to develop. So I would like to collaborate with the students. I'm waiting for that opportunity. I have diverse interests. I am a creative writer, so I have interest in creativity, creative writing. And but professionally, I'm into rhetoric and communication. And recently, I have been working in leadership communication, leadership rhetoric, and particularly on higher education leadership. Yeah, that's my interest currently. But whatever I do in my life from now on, I would simply switch around the topics of leadership, communication, creative writing, performance. These are the areas. I sometimes compare, our students in Nepal and students from other countries. And I very often, sometimes I meet students from other countries. Like I have an experience of answering a lot of questions. 2 months ago, there was a group of students from USA, and they wanted to know about Kathmandu University, and I talked with them for 1 hour, and I realized I had never answered so many questions in my life. So my message is, ask questions, first thing. Second, now for life, do not walk in the path of life like you are walking in water. Keep your relations intact, but good relations. Yeah. And the third is, do not walk alone. So I say, there is no pleasure in walking alone and reaching the summit of a mountain, since you will have nobody around to share the pleasure of the joy and pleasure of reaching the top. So you should have people around. And finally, growth should be spiral, not simply vertical where you walk alone, just rise alone. Spiral means you make a path like this and meet as many people and cover as many locations as possible. That's my understanding of growth and success in life, and maybe you can benefit from that. My favorite one-liner is, performance is the key. Performance is the key.